your man.
Sup, internet peeps? I feel like it's been way too long since we properly discussed the network's single greatest televised achievement, and that's just criminal. So, today, we're gonna dive deeper into the pilot episode and see just what made this particular show so groundbreaking and bold in its approach. So, without any further ado, let's take a closer look at New Kid on the Block. The first thing to mention is just how genius the title of the episode is. Most shows would do something dumb like give every title a theme, but Cory in the House laughs at such convention by breaking the rules already. This pilot title seamlessly conveys not just that Cory is moving to a new locale with his father, but also cleverly subverts the level of importance by referring to the White House as just a block, to say nothing of the musical reference. Now, Raven was an okay show, but you can already tell that the minds behind this one are looking to really challenge the viewership. And now, onto the episode itself. So Cory and Victor Baxter are setting up shop at the White House. Why are they there? Well, as the heartwarming and inspired preview song Going to DC informs us, Mr. Baxter got a job as a White House chef. You might think that to be overly convenient, but there's a deeper reason here. You see, Cory in the House exists in a parallel dimension relative to our own. And while his dimension is mostly the same, it diverges from our normal Earth in some interesting ways. So, for simplicity, we'll simply call his world the Cory-verse. In the Cory-verse, the United States issued its first annual Cook for the President tournament in San Francisco. All the big name chefs were there, pretty much as you remember them from our universe, except Gordon Ramsay was a grill master. And when everything ended, Mr. Baxter won, and the president decided to hire him on the spot to replace whatever schmuck was cooking for him previously. In the Cory-verse, this is how Washington works. But the Cory-verse has also evolved beyond crime, which is also why you never see much security around the president, or the White House for that matter, during most of the show's runtime. Heck, he only took 2 guys with him to San Fran. This universe is so safe and so secure that any old kid can easily sneak into the Oval Office because, hey, what could possibly go wrong if you play around with the president's computer? You've got to hand it to these writers here. They really put a lot of thought into their parallel dimension and what would define it. It makes the world building in Marvel look pretty flimsy by comparison. So now, we get to the real plot, with Cory, otherwise known as American Businessman, trying to market a bobblehead idea. Another truly riveting turn, as we now must surmise that bobbleheads haven't yet been invented in the Cory-verse. The twists just keep coming. Soon, we get to the school setting and meet Mina, a girl from Bahavia. What, you've never heard of Bahavia? Well, the history of this country is a powerful one indeed. You see, long ago, the European nations lived in harmony, but everything changed when the Red Nation attacked. Only Bahavia, master of diplomacy, could bring peace back to the lands, but when Europe needed them most, they vanished. Over 70 years passed and Bahavia was thought lost like the old city under the sea. But then, a young congressman from New York sought to find these people. So, he followed Brendan Fraser on a journey to the center of the earth, where New Bahavia resided, and with his help, they acclimated to the outside world once again. And as you probably guessed, that young congressman went on to become the leader of the free world. The lore of the Cory-verse is truly something to behold. You could just lose yourself for hours in all the details and minutiae. Instead of doing something as lazy as giving Mina a background for one of those overrated real countries, they smartly decided to just make one up and avoid offending anyone. It's that kind of forward thinking Disney Channel desperately needs back in its programming. But now here's where the grade A humor comes in. Since Cory would, of course, become heavily flustered by Mina, he reads his locker number upside down. Get it? It's funny because you're not supposed to do that, but he did it! Oh, that rascal. But then they double down and make him say his name upside down because humor, and it's funny. Please laugh. But, oh no, what's this? Seems that little Cory has gotten himself into a bit of a pickle, claiming to be an expert horse rider. It's funny because he's actually not a good horse rider. In fact, he's afraid of horses. But Cory will find a way to show this guy up, who has satellite pictures of Mina's family vacation. Because humor. We also meet Newt here. Now, Newt is perhaps one of the greatest characters ever cultivated on this network. The level of poise that goes into his dialogue delivery every single time is the biggest reason why this network keeps hiring Jason Dolley. But Cory still needs to learn about horses, for which he recruits America's Angel for assistance. Now, here's an important detail that you may not get on the first watch. You see, in the Cory-verse, libraries don't exist. So, there was no way Cory could have done anything other than sneak into the Oval Office to complete his research. An important aspect of the president's landmark treaty with the Bahavian government was the immediate removal of common sense, officially documented the Senseless Treaty of 2005. This means that for Cory to solve problems in the Cory-verse, he will necessarily have to go through the most contrived situations. This works as brilliant incorporation of the lore. But I do kind of worry that viewers not familiar with the expanded universe graphic novels might miss some of the finer details, like how the president's almost childlike lack of awareness and intelligence is actually a beautiful parallel to the dystopian arc in the Cory-verse backstory, which accurately predicted a future run by an orange madman with similar traits. And you thought Game of Thrones had detailed characters. But trouble arises as Cory still needs to address the horse riding fib. It might seem silly to you that Cory would need to take this so far, but remember, in the Cory-verse, sensibility is discouraged. But you've just gotta hand it to the versatility of Kyle Massey in this scene. He was able to ride a horse backwards and then keep switching positions only to find himself right back where he started. You can claim fancy editing all you want, sure, but what I saw was inspired physical acting from one of the greatest athletes to ever grace the green team. But the peak of this episode is the president giving a mindless speech about keeping your head up. It helps remind us of the lax political structure defining the world order in the Cory-verse, so it all adds up. It's a world where one doesn't always have to make sense or speak coherently to run for president, let alone win. And so, we conclude the episode with Mina and Newt forgiving Cory for his antics, and a brand new friendship is blossoming. So, what can we really take from this first episode of Cory in the House? What does it all really mean? New Kid on the Block is an absolute staple of the network, and years from now, we'll be talking about the subtle messages and clues and how they slowly unveiled a much grander picture. This show isn't on everyone's top anime list for no reason. It started strong and kept building itself through classic episodes like that one time the White House let in a total stranger thinking it was the president, or that time Raven came back and was left absolutely speechless at the nuance and complexities that are Cory-verse standards. Or who could ever forget that one time that Cory went back in time to team up with Avatar 1 to learn the 4 elements and invent a 5th one, only to realize that to truly save the past, he had to use his new powers to stop Lelouch v Britannia from conquering the planet Namek, which was only recently saved by Super Mario and the Power Rangers from the clutches of Skeletor. But it goes even deeper than that, because his actions had unintended consequences on the time-space continuum, and here's where the show went from great to sublime. What we're seeing in episode 1 is actually the result of a distorted timeline created by future Cory. The Cory-verse was very much part of our own universe when Cory was in a less powerful position. But when future Cory had to go back to the past to become Cory of the 5 elements, he set the universe on a collision course for a brand new destiny. For simplicity, we'll refer to this event as the Offspin, a destiny which inevitably led to the rediscovery of the Bahavians, the election of President Clueless, and Victor Baxter winning the now famous Cook for the President tournament in San Francisco. Just like the great future Trunks, future Cory would never see a truly bright future in his time. But he did what he could to make a difference for the Cory-verse he created. And for a moment there, I swear, I felt his light shine through, as if to gently smile upon us. And in that moment, that singular, beautiful moment, I just knew that me and you were in the house. Cory in the House is a once-in-a-generation experience. It's deep, it's complex, it's layered, and it gives proper gravity to its unique political structure. But it also doesn't inundate you with so many clever nods to its own lengthy lore to bore you, because it remembers that fart jokes and satellite stalker pictures are always funny, literally 100% of the time, without exception. And that balance makes up for some of the shakier arcs, like when they tried killing everyone off after season 2. But in typical Cory in the House fashion, they created their greatest twist yet by recreating the continuity with white people and a hyper-intelligent dog that turns out to be Cory in disguise the whole time. And when the Cory in the House reviews return, we'll talk about the implications of Cory's radical canine transformation and how it fits into the Life is Rough continuity and builds towards a grander narrative. Yeah, I think we're done here.